Good morning, everybody, and you're very welcome this morning to our brief overview of Dynamics 365 Business Central with particular focus on finance. I'm Joe Byrne and I work with ProStrategy. We have been a channel partner for Microsoft since the early 2000s, actually. And let me just go. I don't want to kill you with PowerPoint, but let me just very briefly give you an overview of what we're trying to do today. As I said, as a company, we work with Microsoft and IBM providing business applications and also data analytics. And the analytics and data management, we work very much at an enterprise level with the likes of Sainsbury's, Primark, Brown Thomas, CRH. So we work with, from a data management point of view, tier 1 companies, but we also work with tier 2 companies in the business application area as well. As I said, we're 35 years in business. We've over 200 customers. We have a team of over 65 people, professionals who are certified in their particular application knowledge and background. So just to give you some idea of Dynamics 365, and often there's confusion as to what Dynamics 365 is. Dynamics 365 is a suite of applications that work seamlessly together, providing functionality around things like marketing, sales, and business application. Business Central being very much operational with regard to providing functionality around finance, supply chain, manufacturing, and distribution. And I suppose the story around Dynamics 365 is really the power of that integration, the ability to apply what we call the Power Platform, which entails applications such as Power BI from an analytics perspective, Power Automate, which allows for the seamless integration of data and movement of information from one area of your application to another, Power Applications, and Power Virtual Agent. As I said, our focus this morning will be around Dynamics 365 Business Central, and particularly we will look at financial functionality within the application. Dynamics 365 Business Central, it's an integrated solution. It provides increased financial visibility across your operations. I suppose it does provide for you to grow. It is flexible and it's scalable, and it's also easily extended. And I'll talk about a bit more about the use of extensions to extend the functionality within Business Central. But at the end of the day, it does help you to make more informed decisions about your business. What we'll look at this morning, very briefly, we'll get an overview of how the system works. We'll get a general look and feel of the system, how you move around in the system, how you navigate within the system. We will spend some time looking at the chart of accounts and how we analyze the chart of accounts. I will also outline what we call dimensions and the dimensional analysis capability within the system. And we'll also look at the various reporting options that are available. Obviously, there's reporting options available directly within Business Central, but there are a couple of other nice applications that I want to talk to you about as well. And hopefully we'll get time to have a look at our feature focus this morning, which would be looking at bank reconciliation import and automated matching of those entries within the system. And then if we have time, we'll look at our questions. So without much ado, let me just move forward into the application itself. We are looking at Dynamics 365 Business Central. As I sign into the system, and I'm already signed in, depending on my role within the organization, will determine the screen that I actually see when I enter the system. So this is very much based on the role that I have within the organization. The role I have within my organization here is one of accountant. So obviously it's financially orientated. My menu here is very much driven around finances, and we'll spend a little bit of time looking at that. And my home page, which we'll look at in a bit more detail now shortly, is also very much focused on finance and finance related charts and reports. But I suppose as an application, what is Business Central? If I just move here for the moment and I look at what Business Central provides as an application. So very much centered around finance, but also provides functionality around supply chain. So we have purchasing and sales and warehousing capability. So for logistics and distribution. For project-orientated companies, we have project management, and we also have service management here capability. And we also have manufacturing capability within the system as well. Specifically around the accountant and the finance application and what's available within finance, we have cash management. We have the whole finance of AP, AR, and general ledger. Fixed assets, journals, and if I was to expand out on all of those, you will get a feel for the breadth of functionality that exists within the system. So we do have our chart of accounts, bank accounts, as I said, supply chain around our vendors, our suppliers, purchasing, sales. From a reporting point of view, we do have the capability of reporting directly our VIS and our Intrastat, and also obviously our VAT reporting. We have that capability here. Cash management, the ability to maintain bank accounts, multi-currency bank accounts, fixed assets. Again, I don't want to spend too much time here, but just to give you an idea of the level of functionality that exists within Business Central. As I said, the role center here, my navigation at the top of the page is very much centered on finance. As I move down through this specific home page, which is for my benefit, here I have the ability to do finance related activities such as sales documents, purchase documents, maybe create a payment journal. But as I move down, you'll begin to see that it's very graphical in giving me my KPIs and giving me the ability to look at what's going on within the system. So here I have a look at overdue documents, or I may be looking at my cash balances. And as I move down through the system, it's giving me an indication of the activity that's taking place within the system. So if I had overdue purchases, I can click here, it would actually show those to me. So at any stage, when I click on a number, it will actually bring me to the underlying data or the underlying record that exists for that particular transaction. As I move down, again, I'm being shown here various charts. My top 10 customers, it's giving me an indication here of those customers. I can have multiple charts existing here, and I can move within them. I can change the period lengths within those particular chartings. Cash flow, this is just an example of a cash flow graph. Give me an idea of where my cash flow is moving as it goes through the various months. And at any stage, I can click on these and it'll bring me to the underlying transactions that make up that figure for me. I spoke very briefly there around Microsoft Power BI. I suppose one of the capabilities that does exist within Business Central is the ability to embed relevant Power BI reports within your homepage or elsewhere within the application. So if I was to look very quickly, expand out on this, and here it's bringing me to my Power BI report. I can look at my report and I can develop these Power BI reports to give me a good insight into what's actually happening within my company. And again, the ability to change the date range, etc. And we'll look at Power BI in a little bit more detail towards the end of the demonstration. report inbox, so you can actually schedule your internal reports within Business Central. And these are ones that I just prepared a little bit earlier. These are flat reports. Obviously, the problem with flat reports is that once they're actually produced, the information is historical information. So quite often we find that people like to be able to use the likes of Power BI where the information is right up to date. Okay, some other things I just want to point out as an application. You do have the ability to set up what we call service connections, which are effectively API connections. So here we're beginning to extend out the functionality within Business Central. So whether that's to tax authorities or whether it's to banking authorities, we do have that capability. So if I look down here, we have one which is EU VAT registration validation, and I'll actually show you that one a little bit later. The other nice thing about Business Central is that if the functionality doesn't exist within the standard system, we have the ability to use what we call extensions, which can be developed by the likes of ourselves, or indeed there are many applications or extensions out there, applications out in the market, which you can apply against your Business Central application, and it extends the functionality in there. So things like if you're working with PayPal and you want to use extended payments with PayPal, you have that capability. If you, from a tax point of view, if you have to return tax within the UK, there is an extension to manage that for you. Microsoft are investing heavily in what we call AI, artificial intelligence, and they are bringing that artificial intelligence to their applications. So if we look at what we call our Intelligent Cloud Insights, what this provides is it provides a predictive insight into your operations. So in looking at things like invoices that haven't been paid, for instance, it will actually predict based on customer previous experience and history of payment. It will actually give you a predicted timescale as to when that invoice will actually be paid. It will also help you from a forecasting point of view, looking at historical inventory movement, if that's something that you wanted, and would also help in that. So really what it's bringing the artificial intelligence capability that exists within Azure and bringing it to the Business Central arena. Okay, just very generally looking at the movement and moving around within the application. I'm just clicking here on customers. I have a list of customers. Here's my list of customers. I can decide if I want to sort on name, sort on number, whatever way I want to sort on this. I also have the capability of personalizing and deciding what fields I want and the layout of this particular screen, whether I want to hide the screen. So all of that capability is there. It's a very configurable system. That's all available to you. From a filtering point of view, so here I'm looking at a filter called all, but I may want to look at where, for instance, let me filter on something like where the balance LCY does not equal 0, and I can save that view as with balance, and I can have all of my filtered views here. So whether it's customers by salesperson or block customers or customers with credit limit, whatever filtering capability, again, the whole personalization and the ability to create screens for your personal use, that capability is all here for you. If I click on new customer here and I want to set up a new customer for an EU customer, and the region is IE. And let me see if I can just pick up on a VAT number. So I'm just going to pick up, this is our own VAT number here, and copy. So you saw earlier I referenced an API which is looking at the VAT registration here. So what it's doing is it's actually confirming and going out to an EU database of VAT numbers. It's validating the VAT number, and it's bringing back now in creating this new customer that the company name is ProStrategy. If I go down to the actual VAT number itself, you'll see when it was validated, 1016, and the name and address of the company that has been validated. The whole integration with the other Microsoft products, if I was to click here, for instance, on phone number, I can make a call from, so whether it's a PBX that you have set up, whether it's Skype for Business, Microsoft Teams, I've actually got set up here my phone. So the phone number would actually be sent to my phone using Bluetooth. Again, just bringing efficiencies to the operation of the system. The other nice feature is the ability, maybe based on a filtered view, I want to follow up on some of these customers. I can open in Excel. What I can also do is I can edit in Excel. So what we have here, again, the optimization and leveraging the functionality between the various Microsoft products. And if I enable editing here, what it's popping in here is an add-in, which is the Dynamics 365 add-in. What I should get then is the information coming from the main Business Central system. And what I can do, obviously I won't be able to change things like balance, but for instance, I may want to change names or address information. And what I can do then is I can publish that, and that information will be sent back to Business Central and will be updated in Business Central. So the ability to maintain the data, not alone within Business Central itself, but in the other Microsoft applications. Okay, very quickly looking at a customer, and there is more information in relation to the customer. As you can see here, if I look at the customer card, I'm picking up in here to the right hand side all of the activity and history in relation to that customer. And at any stage, as you saw earlier, if I see a little hand here, I can drill down and see the underlying transaction. So that's applicable throughout the system. For instance, if I was to look at balance here, and I click on balance, it brings me to the sales ledger and the open items for that customer. If I want to understand, well, what was that invoice about? Very quickly, I can click online and show document. It will actually open up the sales order. So the sales order and what the item was at the line level. I can send that. So I can send that either by email. If I have electronic documentation set up in the system, I can send it by EDI. I can send it to print. As I said, I can send it to email. Let's just go for a simple emailing of the document. So let me just come back. And it brings out pre-populated who it's going to, the company. It has an attachment of the PDF, okay on that, and off it goes using my Outlook. So I should be able to pick up within my Outlook that particular transaction going out, email going out. I can actually see it's been rejected already as the email address doesn't exist. But that was the email going out, and that's the PDF version of the actual invoice. So as I said, that integration piece, optimizing and leveraging all of your Microsoft technology. Other nice features show on map. If I click OK on this address, it's going off and it's finding the particular address and bringing me to a map. By default, it's going to Bing. We can set it up to go to Google, and the ability then to set up in my Outlook calendar. So look, you're really optimizing your full range of Microsoft applications here. Okay, I'm going to focus a little bit now on the chart of accounts and looking at, from a finance point of view, how we set up our chart of accounts. We have a number here. We have the capability of maintaining up to 20 alphanumerics within our chart of accounts. What we normally find is people don't normally go past 5, and the reason for that is there isn't a necessity to build in things like maybe cost centers or profit centers, and I'll explain all that to you shortly. So what I'm looking at here is the chart of accounts, that ability to filter. So whether I want to filter on, let me just open up the filter here and throw in a quick filter here. Let's create a filter based on, I only want to see income statement, and save that as my P&L. So now I just have a view of my P&L. So that's my P&L view. I can, at any stage, I can do a search and find a particular account. As you can see, as I begin to type, it begins to narrow down on the account that I want to focus on. And what I have here is the balance at date and the net change. And just from looking at the chart of accounts and beginning to analyze out on the chart of accounts, what I can do here is that I can start putting filters to the chart of accounts. And if I was to filter on date here, okay, and if we were to focus on our account 10200, what I have is the balance is always the balance on the account, but the balance at date there is the balance as of the date I have applied in the filter. So it's as of the end of December 2018. And my net change is picking up the transactions that happened within the period of December 2018. At any stage, I can drill down and see the underlying transactions that make up that figure. And as we saw earlier, I can bring that further into things like navigation. So here, as well as being able to see the actual invoice itself, if I use my navigation here, I can see the posted invoice that related to that document. I can see the related GL entries in relation to that document. So if we look in here, we can see to the various revenue accounts, to the various, what we have here is my VAT account, my income account there. We have some VAT coming into play as well. We've discount coming into play. So all of the transactions that have actually been posted here within the system are displayed. VAT entry, so for VAT purpose, it's also showing us a VAT entry. The ability to report on the actual chart of accounts itself. I can do on-screen reporting. So I can do things like if I go to my GL account and balance, and I go for the budget one here, what it will actually give me, if I go down into my filters, so let me just throw a filter on here. What it's giving me is it's showing me the actuals, it's giving me the budget, and it's giving me a budget of the actual variance here. At any stage, if I want to look at the actual transactions, it's just a matter of clicking on the button and it'll bring me to the underlying transactions that exist there within the system. Okay, from a reporting point of view and developing reports within the system. So I do have my on-screen reporting there, but I can develop what we call account schedules, and account schedules are effectively user definable reports. If I was to click on my income statement one here, this is a report that you guys can develop yourselves within the system. So in this one, it's a fairly simple P&L report where I have my income, cost of sales, my GP expense, and my operating profit. And if I was to go and look at this particular report, if I go to overview of this report, again, I can report on period. I can move between periods here. I can take that report if I want to. I can take that report out to Excel, or I can actually just print the report if I want to. So we do have the ability to generate reports within the system, and as we saw earlier, we can actually set up the system to send those reports to our actual report box here. So they may be scheduled reports that you want to pick up on every morning. A couple of other ways of reporting. I'm just going to go out to something like Jet Reports. So Jet Reports is an Excel add-in. Here I have my connection to my Business Central here. I'm connecting to a particular company. If I was to run that report, it's an aged debtors listing report that I've just created. So it gives you the capability of creating these Excel reports yourself. And I suppose the nice feature is that at any stage, if I want to see the underlying transaction, so if I want to see that particular transaction, I do have, you'll see here, that little drop down or little button there to the side within the report. And what it'll do, it'll bring me back to the actual transaction within Business Central. And if I want to see the actual document itself, I'm never more than a couple of clicks away. So a lot of finance guys like using Jet Reports because it gives them the capability of developing the reports and developing those reports to their specific requirement. We can also schedule those reports. So maybe in the first thing in the morning, you have a number of reports which have been sent to you by email or to somebody within the organization. So all of that capability is there. The last report capability that I wanted to show you, I did speak about Power BI a little bit earlier. And we can get really sophisticated in the types of financial reporting that we can develop for you using Power BI. This is a particular dashboard that we've developed for a pharmacy chain where they're looking at their P&L. It gives them the ability to look at the various cost centers or the various shops that they want to actually look at the information by. You'll see it's giving us the finance figures here. It's giving me then percentages. And as we change through the report on the various aspects of the report, we'll see that these figures actually change in tandem with that movement within the report. Some nice features there that you can also build within Power BI, things like charts that show you outliers. This particular one here is looking at a retail ratio, so looking at revenues, how much of it is generated by retail, and then how much of a margin. So we have an XY axis based on margin and based on percentage of revenue. And again, we see most of the stores are operating here, but we begin then to pick up on outliers where perhaps the revenue is not at a high enough percentage to the overall revenue. So I'm picking up on that, or it may be a store where the margin is not good, but it's 100% of the retail revenue here, but the margin is not good. So again, visualization and the ability to visualize the various stores and what's actually happening within those stores and see those outliers. Guys, that's as much as we have time for this morning. If there are other aspects of the system that you'd like to see in more detail, we are available. to maybe give you something a bit more personalized from a demonstration point of view. I'm just going to open up for questions.
Hi, Joe. Does it allow for customer direct debits?
It does. So one of the features that we have within customers is to set up direct debits. So within a customer itself, we can set up direct debits and direct debit mandates, and we can actually produce a payment run for those direct debits.
Okay, thanks. And what about journal templates?
Journal templates?
Journal templates.
Yeah, for journals, yeah. So within creating journals, you have the ability to create journal templates. And again, because it's a Microsoft product, you can actually create your journals in Excel, so maybe using calculations. Create the journals in Excel, and you can simply cut and paste those entries into a journal in Business Central.
Great, thanks.
Joe, could you tell me how does it handle year-end adjustments?
Year-end adjustments, quite often with finance systems, you do need extra periods in order to accommodate year-end adjustments. I suppose one of the great things around Business Central is that you can close your year and have multiple year-end closes effectively, which takes in year-end adjustments, and they're clearly recognized within the system. So it handles those very easily.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, is there much involved in migrating, say, 2018 to
Sorry, Maeve, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite hear that, Maeve. You were asking about the data migration, I think?
Migrating from, say, NAV 2018 up to this version. Is there a lot involved in that?
Not in if you were moving from NAV 2018, there wouldn't be much involved in moving to Business Central, because all of the functionality in 2018 that you may have had configured or developed for you should be in extensions at this stage. So it should be just a natural upgrade of the information into Business Central.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
And the reports you're showing in Jet and so on, Joe, are they easy to self-generate, or do you need someone else to help you with them, or what's the...
How we normally implement that, the benefit of Jet is really to make you self-sufficient. So it really, I would say after a couple of days training, you effectively are self-sufficient in generating and maintaining those reports yourself. So it's a great tool to be able to create reports that maybe you want to distribute, maybe on a weekly basis or a daily basis. We've had people who have the likes of the CNC group have used it for sending out to their salespeople an age debt report, for instance, a very simple age debt report every morning. So yeah, it's quite a powerful tool.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Unless there are any more questions, I know I've run over time there. As I said, look, that was a very brief overview, a very much a taster of what Business Central can potentially do for you. I'm sure there are lots of unanswered questions that you have. We would be more than happy to speak to you on a one-to-one basis and perhaps give you a demonstration which is more aligned to your business processes and answers those questions for you. So thank you for your time this morning. I hope it gave you some insight as to what potentially Business Central can do for you. And as I said, thanks again for joining and have a good day. Thanks a lot.